Have you ever just wished you could, I don't know, rewind your vision a bit? Well, we're about to look at a really cool 30-day experiment that asks a huge question. Can a few simple exercises every day actually improve your eyesight? Let's dive in and find out.
So, before we get to the experiment itself, let's just talk about why we even need to ask this question. I mean, if you feel like your eyes are just constantly exhausted, you are definitely not alone. Our modern lives put them under a whole new kind of pressure. But what's really going on here?
Well, it really boils down to three main things. First, our screens. We're just staring at them for hours on end, locking our focus at one single distance. Second, we're basically indoor creatures now. Get this, the average American spends a whopping 93% of their time inside. And third, we've kind of gotten lazy with how we use our eyes. I mean, think about it. When you want to look at something, do you move your eyes or do you move your whole head? For most of us, it's the head.
There's this really powerful way to think about it. All that time we spend indoors, it's like we're putting our eyes in a cage. They just never get the chance to really stretch out and focus on things far away, which is exactly what they evolved to do. It's a pretty striking image, right? So, faced with this very modern problem, one person decided to take on a personal challenge. They set off on a 30-day quest to see if they could actually fight back and maybe, just maybe, improve their own vision. And this is where the story gets really interesting.
And, the motivation here was super personal. It all started with the huge frustration of failing the eye exam for a driver's license. So this wasn't just some casual thing. The stakes felt really high. And that's what sparked the whole experiment. Could eye training actually make a real, noticeable difference?
Okay, so if you're going to do this right, you need a baseline. You need to know where you're starting. So before any exercises began, an eye test was done. And here's the result. Negative 2.0 diopters in both eyes. If you wear glasses, that number probably looks pretty familiar. This is our starting line.
And that brings us to the core question of this whole thing. With a very clear starting point of -2, the challenge was on. Could a consistent 30-day training plan actually move that number, even just a little bit, in the right direction? The skepticism was definitely there, but so was the hope.
So what did this training actually involve? You might be picturing hours of grueling work, but nope. It was a really simple, totally accessible routine that only took about 10 minutes each day. Let's break down exactly what that workout looked like.
All right, here's the play-by-play. First, a warm-up. Just blink normally for about 30 seconds, and then blink really hard for another 30 to get some oxygen to your eyes. Step 2, you focus your eyes on one object, and then you move your head around, forcing those eye muscles to work hard to stay put. Step 3 is the opposite. Your head stays perfectly still while your eyes do all the work, moving up, down, left, right, the whole shebang. And finally, a nice, simple cool down, just closing your eyes for a few seconds to let them rest.
Now, this is super important. The goal here is not to cause pain. You're looking for a gentle stretch in the muscles around your eyes. Seriously, think of it like yoga for your eyes. If you feel a little bit of a stretch or some fatigue, you're doing it right. But if you feel any real discomfort, you're pushing way too hard.
But the experiment didn't just stop with exercises. There was another tool involved. These things called pinhole glasses. Now, they look a little funny, I'll admit, but the idea behind them is actually pretty simple. All those tiny holes help focus light directly onto your retina, which can make your vision seem instantly sharper.
So these were worn for about 10 minutes a day. And get this, the effect was immediate. While wearing them, our experimenter could read text from a distance that was normally just a complete and total blur. It's a pretty amazing example of how just changing the way light enters your eye can have a massive impact.
All right, 30 days are up. It is time for the moment of truth. Time to head back to the optician for the final official measurement. So, what did the results actually show? I mean, after all that effort, the daily warm-ups, the head movements, the eye rolls, the funny-looking glasses, was there any real measurable change? Let's take a look at the numbers. And here they are. So the starting prescription was negative 2.0 diopters. And after 30 days, the new test came back at negative 1.75 diopters. That is a clear, documented improvement. It's not some miracle cure for sure, but that is a real, definite change for the better. To put a number on it, that's an improvement of 0.25 diopters. Now that might not sound like a lot, but anyone who wears glasses knows that's a significant and totally noticeable difference. In just 1 month, this simple routine produced a real, measurable result. So, okay, a measurable improvement is fantastic, but what's the big picture here?
What is the final takeaway from this whole 30-day journey into eye training? What does it all mean?
Well, the conclusion is actually a pretty balanced one. It looks like, for some eye conditions, these exercises can be genuinely useful. They can definitely help maintain your current level of vision, and they are fantastic for relaxing tired, screen-strained eyes. But, and this is a big but, they're not a miracle cure for all vision problems. And we'd really need a much longer study to see if this kind of improvement could continue over time.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. This experiment suggests that a small, consistent effort can create real change. So, in a world that tends to keep our eyes in that cage, the real question is, are you willing to spend just a few minutes a day to see if you can change how you see the world?